Well, hey, this one's going to be a hard one. It's going to be, yeah, I'm just warning you. It's going to do, I'm not even going to tell you what we're going to talk about because it's going to be too hard to take for most of it.
Now I have to watch.
I invite you to watch.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the Called to Love podcast, a show dedicated to exploring how human relationships and intimacy with God are connected. Join us as we discuss hard-hitting topics that inspire and motivate you to go deeper into the intricacies of building meaningful relationships. Here now are your hosts, James Levisee and Brian Knoedl.
You know, there's a lot of motivating factors out there that can motivate you to do one thing or the other, and some are more powerful than others. And one thing about, growing spiritually is, I can tell you from my perspective, I had an absolute spiritual experience that really motivated me. But before that, I was just kind of, muddling through. I wasn't doing a lot. But I can think about other times where I've been really motivated. And what was motivating me back then was I wanted to kind of have a spot, a role in leadership. I wanted to kind of be known as, hey, I'm your man. If you need something, I'm reliable. You can depend on me. I'll do it. Need a Bible study? I'll start one. I want to start a men's ministry. I want to get a bunch of guys together. So the motivation was of having some sort of a position of importance.
Sure.
That was a motivator.
Sure.
Back then. I can remember another motivator. I was worried my kids wasn't going to learn spiritual principles. They weren't going to learn about God, and I wasn't the one to teach them at the time. So I was motivated to get the family into a church. And then at that point, I was motivated to see them grasp the concepts and grow in it. So there was another motivation that kind of got me on a path.
Sure.
But I can tell you that if there's not a desire or a belief that you can, you're probably not going to do much. Because if you believe you can and you don't really have a desire, probably not going to do it. If you have a desire and you don't believe you can, probably not going to do it. So it's amazing. It's quite miraculous that we get to a place to where we're actually motivated to do something. And here's the thing that troubles me. I meet with people all the time, and I can tell they don't have a desire. They don't have a belief. They have a belief system. They believe in the Lord, maybe not, but let's just say they do. Now they're in a rut that seems to be like they can't get out of it. And I'm always wondering, what's going to motivate this person? I mean, could I say something to motivate them? No, I know one thing for sure that's going to motivate them, and that is having a spiritual experience, having an encounter with God. And I know that you can get into a place of receiving that too by getting into a quiet place and calling out to Him with a humble heart and just ask Him to reveal Himself to you with just a brokenness,
Sure.
kind of I don't know anything. I'm just yours. I need to know something because I don't. I've made a mess of my life, and a lot of times the motivation can be because your wife's leaving you, your husband, your children are hurt. They're in the hospital. Those can be motivating factors.
Life events.
Right. But this right here of getting into the presence of God seems to be impossible for people.
It is. And when you started it off, what drives someone? I've heard this said. There's two things that make you get up out of bed in the morning and go to work, per se. It's fear of not having enough money to feed yourself or your family, or a passion about what you're doing, and everything else works out. Another motivating factor is, who am I going to see today? Who am I working with that I enjoy working with? Who inspires me at my job or what I'm doing that makes me want to be or do better? What special speaker that spoke at church on Sunday that if no one else was in the room, you knew that message was for you? You walked out with every intention and purposed in your heart for that moment. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start doing this. And at some point, the desire left the building. And what is that? And what you and I know from our journey and when God brought us together, that spiritual quest that we could not believe we were doing involved fasting, but just having a focus and a intent on seeing our lives changed. God took us on that journey. Just like he took Jesus in the wilderness, you and I went through a period of time. I call it dying. I call it a dying and a revealing, because those first 7 days, after spending 2 weeks of me and you complaining about everything that was ever wrong with church or ever wrong with the church system, or, just whatever it involved, typically involved unmet expectations, hurt, so forth, and, maybe being around agendas and that sort of thing. All of that you and I were so wonderfully good at communicating, the Lord brought, at least for me, he threw it back in my face, Holy Spirit, and said, hey, Brian, this is the real you. I'm so glad you took the time to voice and vent. Now I'm going to show you what it really looks like, where all this is coming from. Mm-hmm. The abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. I found out real fast that I had been hurt and wounded and never healed. I knew better than not to forgive, but even though it still affected me, you and I went through, I call it cleansing. You and I went through a time where the Lord was, I remember you would call me, or I call you on my way to work, and you're like, I can't believe God, God just showed me this, and I don't want to do anything to break his heart. And I was like, darn, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling that. And then for him to ultimately take us through a transition of how he loves his body, and then how he wants us to love people.
Yeah.
And I thought I love people. I thought I'm a people person.
Yeah, I thought you did.
But I want to tell you something, man. I want to tell you, James, that's very funny. But I will tell you, catching a glimpse of how he sees people will mess you up. Mm-hmm. It robs you from being self-centered, self-focused, and not caring about people. He really wants you to see people the way he does. And that is what catapulted us to own what it looked like to grow. And we began to read, we began to study, and because we knew that position or title or whatever it is was not the answer. Being in right standing with him and hearing his heart and his voice is all that mattered. And we saw some amazing things doing that, and which ultimately played a role in launching Called to Love. But the biggest thing that you and I are seeing is, where does the desire come from? And if you've not had an encounter with the Lord, the great place to start is creating a place in your home or atmosphere in your home to encounter him. If you had a guest that was coming over that you could not wait to meet, what would you do? You would prepare your house. You would make sure it smells good. You'd make sure it's spotless. You'd have your very best out. Why can't we do that for a moment each and every day? Create a place and say, God, I'm honoring you this morning. This is my time with you. Whatever you want to do, I'm open. If you don't want to say a word, fine. If you want to lay it on me, I'm ready. And then do that consistently. You will find a relationship cultivating. It has nothing to do with whether you can see him. It has everything to do with you being a spirit being that he flows through.
Yeah.
We're more than just a human being. We're a spirit being made in his image, and he knows how to speak to our conscience.
Yeah.
He knows how we can hear him with our mind, our will, and our emotions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to be good at? Do you desire to be in a situation better than what you are now?
Sure.
I mean, you want to get out of a situation that you're in now? Yeah, I mean, let me ask this. If you're listening to this and you find yourself just constantly annoyed by circumstances and the people around you, and you don't feel like excited about getting around people and looking at these relationships as opportunities instead of how can you break away from them, I'm going to say that is a sign that there is a better way, and there's a way that you can learn. We read books. Get a book. What is it? I bought a book one time. It was on resolving conflict. I just felt like I was terrible at resolving conflict. So I got a book on conflict. You're great at asking questions, so you encouraged me. You said you got to ask questions, James. You used to always tell me, you got to ask questions. So I had a buddy that used to tell me I got to ask questions. So I went and bought a book. What was it?
Good leaders ask great questions.
Good leaders ask great questions. I read that book. It was all about asking great questions. Now I find myself around other people, and I'm like, dude, you got to be asking questions. Because it's natural now.
It is.
It kind of becomes a habit. But my point is this. We get wisdom from God. There is another component. We have resources in other people that can show us and help us see our weaknesses and blind spots. There is geniuses out there that have wrote books
Sure.
on the very topic you want to be good at. And why aren't you studying it? If you want to get a degree in college, are you just getting a degree to hang a plaque on the wall, a framed diploma? Or do you want to be good at the job you're going to get? Are you going to be a dentist and you don't really care about teeth? You just want to get the paycheck? No, I mean, hopefully you've got a passion for it. So what I'm saying is there is resources out there where you can dive into, you can become a person that is better than you were yesterday.
Sure.
And you can find yourself loving to be in relationships with people. I'll make a profound statement. I'm going to say most people listening to this podcast really don't like people. They have maybe a very few, some none, that they just can't stand them. And that's a problem, because if we've been called to multiply and go out into the field and raise up laborers and harvest and build the kingdom, then we are in a weird position of not being able to do that, because the very people God's called us to, we can't stand. And some people can't even imagine what heaven's going to be like if that other person's going to be there.
Well, you remember in Luke, Jesus told everyone in that synagogue by reading out of the scrolls of Isaiah what his mission statement was. And it involved 3 types of people: the broken, the bound, and the blind. That was his mission statement. I've come to heal the brokenhearted. I've come to set the captive who is bound free. And I've come to open the eyes of the blind, both naturally, spiritually, mentally, whatever. Those are people.
Yeah.
And these are people that are gone through something. And you have to be able to love like the Father, be patient like the Father. That's his people. That's who he said he came for, to rescue and redeem. Why do we think our mission is any different? We've got to be able to get along with people. We've got to be able to see beyond whatever that circumstance and situation is. No matter the risk of hurt, no matter the risk of rejection, no matter the risk of hate, no matter the risk of, betrayal, it doesn't matter. Jesus said, I promise you, the world will hate you. But be of good cheer.
Yeah.
I've overcome the world. He is saying, life is but a vapor, eternity is forever. We'll look back one day and say, I had a small window to make an impact, a footprint while I lived on this earth. Did my life have significance for the kingdom? Or was I living in fear? Was I living in brokenness and hurt and never got free enough, never got the desire, never decided to purpose in my heart, I am going to finish stronger than I ever started as a believer? That's our heart. That's what we're wanting to see happen.
Well, 100% of the people listening are people.
They are.
So imagine they're all hated. If what we're saying is true, and we're finding people, I just don't like people. Guess what? You're a people.
I talked to this guy the other day, and he goes, I don't understand this whole thing about loving people. Why did Jesus have to just say that? Why? And he was really struggling with it. And he's like, I don't even understand why he brings up something new when he's at the Lord's Supper, but then he tells, he talked about it, loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, love your neighbor as yourself. And I said, those were two different things. I mean, what he said there was in relation to upward. Love the Lord your God. Upward. Then he says, love your neighbor. I personally believe that he's talking about a neighbor is someone you don't necessarily know, but you have an opportunity to model kindness, the fruits. But when Jesus said it at the Last Supper and said, I got a brand spanking new commandment, and it just blew over their heads, Jesus was saying, I want you to love people just as I loved you. And guess what? The way Jesus loved people was through the power of the Holy Spirit operating in him.
Yeah.
So if he had to have the Holy Spirit in him to love people, to do miracles, and to do the things that he did and go to the cross in obedience for us, why in the world do we think we can walk the Christian life without the power and infilling of the Holy Spirit? There's no way we're going to be able to love anybody if we're not empowered and yielding to and surrendered to the Holy Spirit. So loving people like Jesus is, I believe, the people that we know the best and are hardest to love.
Yeah.
That's when he said, neighbor's one thing, but loving each other, as he said, it's the ones that are closest to us that the hardest to love. It's the ones that we worship with the most that's hardest to love. It's the ones we do dinner with, we do reunions with, we do whatever it is. Jesus said it's going to take the power of the Holy Spirit. Until next time, James.
We hope this episode of the Called to Love podcast has enriched your life and offered valuable principles to apply on your personal journey. Please explore our website at www.calledto.love for more information and to share your feedback with us. Until our next episode, may you find peace and love. And always remember, you are called to love.